Welcome to the Nuff Said Podcast, Issue 2. Hey, 2 weeks in a row, we got that right.
Wow.
Actually, I got that wrong because it's been 3 weeks in a row, because this would be issue 0, issue 1. Well, anyway, this is a Marvel-centric podcast, and we are featuring Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because that's the big thing happening right now. And this episode is focused on episode 084. Did you like that?
Oh, that was nice.
You like those golden tones, huh, Jack?
I do. Well, I think in the after edit, you should do 08444.
Why would I do that? You just did a perfect one. Let's introduce ourselves. I am Rubenesque Rob Southgate. And with me is...
Don't make me laugh. I hurt my ribs. And I'm jealous, Jack Wendrowski.
Jealous that I can laugh without my ribs exploding.
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, it was a Brazilian jiu-jitsu accident, which I have absolutely no experience with. So apparently I am not superhero material.
So right there, this is going to be a little primer for another show we do. We also do a show called Input Junkie with Martha. And on that, Jack has already told me he's going to be talking about why he was in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu class and he got his ribs injured. So let's save it for that show. If you want to hear the story, you got to listen there. That's kind of a cheap way of doing it, but you know what? What do they care, right?
Hey, that's a good way to advertise episode 3 of Input Junkie.
That's right. Is it episode 3? I thought we were on 4.
Oh, boy, that's a good question.
We got to stop with this whole issue thing, too, because I'm telling you, I can't remember, and I've already screwed up my saves on here. So why don't we just say we have issues? We're going with episode numbers from here on out.
That's it.
Okay. So, Jack, man, I don't know about you, but all week I was watching previews. I kept looking at this 084 thing. I'm like, what is this? I was totally jacked. Not Jolly Jack.
Jealous
Jack. But all week I was so excited for it. And now, do you remember in the Thor movie, did they refer to the hammer as a 084?
Yes, they did. That was the first. That was their first mission. Was that their first mission in 084? Anyway, they did refer their last.
That was the first foreign artifact that they referred to, right?
Correct.
Okay. I wonder if you go back. See, we should have actually done a little bit of homework on this. I wonder if you go back and you watch Captain America, if they make any reference to it because of the Tesseract. If they call that 084, because you don't really see S.H.I.E.L.D. there, but S.H.I.E.L.D.'s there, and Hydra's there and everything. I wonder if that goes back into that history a little bit.
I am not sure. That's a really good thing to go back and check, because they're making a lot of references to the Captain America and movie. So I think that's going to be a real good point of reference.
Yeah, I'm planning on actually going back and rewatching Captain America. I just watched it recently, but I didn't pay attention to these little details. Now that the show has kind of kicked in, now we're kind of moving, I really want to go back and watch those details and see what I pick out.
Yeah, because what we're looking for now is the hammer, whether that's a 084, anything, the references to Hydra.
Right.
And what was the other thing you just said?
Well, there's going to be AIM, there's going to be Hydra, there's going to be 084. We want to see if the Tesseract is called a 084, or if
Tesseract.
if S.H.I.E.L.D. is really even in there, because I just can't remember. I know they're at the end of the movie, but I just don't recall how they showed it. Now, if you watch that Marvel one-shot that I talked about, S.H.I.E.L.D. is all over that. The one, the Agent Carter one?
Right.
Have you watched that yet?
I have not.
Oh, Jack. Oh, my gosh. It's so good. I have talked about that all week, too. I loved it. They're supposed to do a series about it, but I really want that series to happen. I think it would be awesome if that was a summer series, so this ends and we go right into Agent Carter.
Ooh, that would be nice.
Yes. Oh, I couldn't. That would be just too much. Oh, I'd love it. So, you know what? Before we get into kind of breaking this down, last week you felt that it had a little bit too Disney in it. What'd you think this time?
I think it started out exactly the same way. and the whole the Ward was doing the whole. He doesn't even know about Sky, and there was really no interaction, and he kind of comes in hot and heavy. I thought it was a little much, but it transitioned out of it very quickly, and I kind of turned the second episode turned me around a little bit. I'm starting to see a little bit more of that promise.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually was, because I told you last week, I was really into the first one. I could see your point, but I wasn't feeling the same thing. This time, I was more cognizant of it. I was paying attention a little bit like, okay, is there a little too much humor? Am I seeing from Jack's eyes, or is this evolving? I absolutely felt an evolution of this. And I did think the same thing. Well, not the very first couple minutes, that first couple minutes when you saw the side of the plane blow out, awesome. I loved that. And I
Yeah,
didn't know what was going on. I thought that like, you know, whoever was on that plane and blew that out, I didn't realize it was going to be them that did it.
right. It gave you that little, what do you call it? It's not a flashback. It's
A
a
little teaser at the beginning.
right, the
And then
teaser.
it became a flashback, 19 hours earlier, and then you saw how the story unfolded. Um, I was fully thinking that explosion out of the side was going to be one of the bad guys blowing up the side of the plane and Agent Coulson hanging on for dear life. But instead, it was Fitzsimmons that did it.
Right.
So I loved that. I loved how that all played out. But once the show started, there was a short bit where what you were saying was definitely connecting with me. I was watching it going, okay, it's not settling in. It felt a little bit, this is going to sound terrible. People are going to hate me for this, but it felt a little bit like the A-Team or something like that. Like a
It's
little out
funny
of place, like an
when
80s action show.
exactly. I was making some notes during it just so my old brain could kind of remember, and I wrote down Dirty Dozen.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, and you know what? I think they are kind of playing that card, which let me set the record straight here. I'm completely fine with. I loved the dynamics of this show. I loved that it was all about forcing the team together, just like the Avengers. They played games to make that team gel and do their thing. And that was a team that was, at each other's throats. Same thing here. This team, it was a little bit forced at the beginning, and mainly because of how they played off, what's his name, Ward.
Uh,
Uh, they made him a little too obvious with it,
a
right?
little too angry. Actually, him and Melinda May were a little over the
Little
top.
little over the top. But you know what? It settled in. I thought they gelled as a team. I loved that they solved the problems as a team and that they took the blame as a team. And then I love that little bit at the end, which we're going to get to. We're not going to spoil it yet. We're not going to talk about that very end. But I love that Coulson defended his team, defended his actions, and he clearly had a plan. And it makes me wonder if some of what we saw was a setup by Coulson, like putting them in a pressure cooker and making them work it out. Now, I don't think that he knew what was going to happen with Comandante Camilla Reyes. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't think he knew that was going to happen. I don't think he wanted to jeopardize his plane the way he did. But I do think that that there may have been some of that. We're going to put these guys in a plane together and put them on a mission, and we're in a pressure cooker now. It's kind of like in the Avengers when Bruce Banner says, "Great, you're going to put me on a helicarrier. That's a good idea." And then he's like, "Yeah, inside of a box. This is going to end really well." It's like you're forcing him into a pressure cooker. Same thing here.
Right, I agree. They were forced into the pressure cooker. I took it more as he was bringing them on, and he reassessed the situation as a good field agent would do and say, you know what? You've just provided me with a great opportunity to train and make a
Yeah.
cohesive team.
Yeah, because didn't it seem like Coulson was like one step ahead of the whole situation?
Well, I think he really got I I think until she started to make that play. because they did have a history together. And he said, you know what? I've never known you to be this direct. And that's the point where he went completely on guard.
That's when you knew what was going on, or he knew what was going on.
Exactly. And of course,
Yeah.
we could see that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I love that he had the confidence in Ward, because when when he flipped his cards over and he revealed to her that your plan's not going as planned, he completely was like, "Yeah, we got 20 seconds. Ward has this figured out there. Done." So you know that he really knows this team and he knows what they're capable of.
And that kind of restored my confidence in Coulson.
Yeah, see, I haven't wavered on Coulson. I think Coulson's a great character, and I think that he's got this together.
He did. I was really worried. We talked about this last episode, but I was really worried that he still had that assistant kind of vibe. And
Yeah.
now I really felt the leadership coming from Coulson.
Yeah, totally. And the ending, once again, without getting too much into it, the ending, he definitely took a leadership type role. He was subservient where he needed to be, but he clearly stated, "Here's the line. I'm the leader right here, and this is my decision. Done." Loved it. I
Abs-
loved that.
Absolutely. And talk about the last episode. What did you think about the Gamma reference again?
It was great. How great was that when they found 084 and they started analyzing it and they mentioned that it had gamma? And I was saying, in my head, I'm like, is that a glowing alien artifact? And then they started talking about it, how it had the tesseract in it and it had gamma. And I'm like, this is that same. These are the things that keep coming up. So I think what they're trying to imply is it is this perfect storm of gamma and tesseract that has really brought us into the superhero age, and
Yeah,
now they can no longer hide it.
agreed. They're doing every. Of course, that's. I think that's where Sky's going to come in, but she's not really on board with
Okay,
that. She's not really on board with hiding these things from the public.
no, but I got a question for you. What did you think of that at the end when she got the text? Is she going to betray them? Is she going to turn out? See, because they could go a couple of ways here. Is she going to turn out to be essentially a bad guy? Like, is she gonna have infiltrated this team and cause enough trouble that at some point she flips and becomes a character they have to contend with? Or are we going to have the, God, I hate to call it like the Lifetime movie moment, but kind of where she gives up on her other life and just, goes for it? I can't tell. And it's, Joss Whedon has his hand in here. I can't tell. He doesn't seem to go the easy route. He's not afraid to kill characters. He's not afraid to turn characters. Is she going to be one that they do that with?
Well, it depends on how popular she becomes, how committed they become to the team.
Sure.
Because as modern TV, they're not afraid to kill off the superheroes or some of the main characters.
Right.
But I don't think we can believe that she's gotten off this van and this long-term relationship with the Crimson Tide, and within one or two episodes that she's
Yeah, she's
gonna.
foregoing that because she's in this. Because she even made a reference to that when she said, um, "This is exactly what I was trying to stop."
Exactly. So she's not really quite sure if this is going to conflict with what she's doing there or not.
Sure.
She believes in what Crimson Tide does. She doesn't see them as a rogue organization. She sees them as part of the American uh, First Amendment.
Sure. So with everything that's going on, she would be like from the Tea Party saying, "Hey, we're blowing the whistle on this and we see it differently than everything else." I mean, not that it's exactly Tea Party. We're not going to get all political here. I know you want to, Jack. I know that you're like, a pundit in waiting.
Well,
But
I am not very good. I do not study the politics, but as you know, I'm retiring from the army, and this whole budget thing has left me without being able to get medical appointments, shop at the commissary. So this is things that we do not want to get into in
no,
this
I know why you went in the Army, Jack. The Navy gets the gravy and the Army gets the beans, and you're a big fan of beans.
and gravy. Beans and gravy. I could live on that, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad your state's away too.
Uh,
So Sky, I liked this too. I liked that they, and it might have been a little heavy-handed how they were doing it, but I like that they addressed it because one thing that was bothering me last week, have you noticed I keep having thoughts and it takes me like 5 minutes to get to the actual point?
no,
This is
not at
just
all.
kind of going on. Uh, they made it very obvious that Sky is a consultant. She is not a member of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. She hasn't gone through the training and she is a variable element.
Last week, after the show, when I was thinking about it, after our show, and I was thinking about, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I started thinking about that character a little bit, and that was something that bothered me. I was thinking, this is, even though it's not military, it's outside of the military, it's essentially a military organization.
Oh,
It's run like
absolutely.
one, okay? But they don't necessarily answer to the president. This is kind of a different group. It's outside of that. And I thought, what are they doing with her? Because she was just some schmo in a van, and yes, she may have the skills, but how do they put her in the middle, in the thick of this without the training and without, what's the legality there? And as soon as they said consultant, which is exactly what she is, it took a lot of that thought out of me. It made me say, oh, yeah, oh, no, that makes sense. She's a consultant here. He's using her that way. And they can start evolving her into an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. on almost like an honorary degree type thing. But for right now, she's a consultant. She'll only know so much, she'll only have access to so much, but she can be right in the thick of it. So I like that. I thought that was pretty cool.
She will be in the thick of it. And I think what you're forgetting there is that at the very end of the episode, which we won't tell you how it ends, but I will tell you that between Melinda May and Ward, there was a conversation that he changes his mind. She could be a great asset as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And Melinda May says, oh, if only there was, if we had a good agent that could train her. And he says, you're talking about me, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So after he was conflicted with her, now he's on board saying, okay, I, I guess you're saying I'm the one that's going to train her. So he's going to step into that mentor type role. Is that what you're thinking is going to happen?
that's exactly what they're saying, so it looks like he's going to be taking on her training as an actual agent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that could be
And once again, it may have been just a hair heavy handed, but it, you know what? I don't care. Frankly, I don't care if it is. I enjoyed the show. I liked it. We're just being nitpicky here, but I don't think there was anything wrong with any of that. I think they're trying to get some of this stuff out, like they're trying to deal it out on the table really fast and say, okay, here's a bunch of things that we're going to be dealing with going forward.
right.
Now they don't have to address that she's a consultant. They don't have to deal with that anymore. If he's the mentor, she can be there and he can be mentoring, and it never really has to come up other than we'll see an occasional nice work on that. Hey,
It-
you know what? You almost got your butt kicked. Why were you in a judo class and almost got your ribs broken? We'll get a little bit of that.
right. And I think
No, Jack, I was asking, why are you in? No, no, no. Let's save that for Input Junkie.
yeah, we got to save that. That's a whole other story in itself. But I think what you're saying is it answered the question. It answers some of the questions about what's her role, and it sets up a whole storyline of how they're going to train her and integrate her into the team as a full agent.
Right.
And also, you have that storyline, whether or not she's out of the red tide. And apologies to the Alabama fans because I called it the Crimson Tide before, but it's she's in the red tide.
The Crimson Tide. You know what?
You didn't even pick up on that,
I
did you?
did not. In fact, now that you've said it, now I'm thinking about that movie. So well played, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Either that or, you know what, I won't get into what else a Crimson Tide could be. Let's just move on.
You're showing your
So,
age. Do you know when Crimson Tide came out?
about the time you came out, but I
Oh,
would say,
please
I would say that was
save that for Input
91,
Junkie. Oh,
91, 90.
95.
Oh, 95.
Yeah.
So let's see. You were 30 then. I was about 17. I'm kidding. None of that's true. None of that's true. So,
So,
what, Jack? What were you
oh,
going to say?
jinx. So back to the gamma radiation,
Yeah.
and getting back into the show here is the other reference that I noticed, and I thought of you in our conversation prior, was they mentioned straight out Hydra.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. In fact, I
it
caught that
wasn't
and I was like,
AIM, it wasn't the centipede. They busted out the Hydra almost right away.
now wait, they busted out the Hydra, but they didn't say that's exactly what we were seeing last week. They still haven't, they didn't even go back to that with the cop and the chick. It could be Hydra, it could be AIM, it could be another group altogether.
Well, the way that they said it, and I agree
Right,
with
you're kind
you,
of assuming
it
that
could
it's
go either
it's
way, but what they said was that was a former Hydra weapon.
right.
Whether Hydra's using it or not, it could go either way.
Right. Well, see, when they said that line, I was almost thinking that they were playing it off like Hydra's been destroyed. When Captain America and all that went down, that was the end of Hydra. I think they were implying that or they were putting that question out there. But I don't believe that's the truth. I think that we are going to see it come back. And I think you may be right. It could be Hydra. Once again, it could be AIM. It could be anybody that we were seeing dressed as a cop and trying to kill the superhero.
Right. As soon as they said a former Hydra weapon, they left that door open for any possibility.
Oh yeah, they threw that right open. So that was pretty cool. I liked that they showed up and they had that 500-year-old temple in Peru.
Oh, that was cool.
That was really cool. And then it had the glowing artifact sticking out of that wall. Uh, then once again, we saw those little drone things that Fitzsimmons has, and it's taking the scans. Boy, that thing is pretty high tech, man. Those things they can read everything, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And it kind of reminds me a lot of, you've got the drone technologies, you have these pizza delivery little drones that have the three helicopter
Right, right.
wheels, and these are things that could actually be developed in a number of years.
Oh yeah, we're not far from that. I think the biggest technology issue there is the scanners, like how it scans things and how it reads data. I think that is the part that we're not to yet. But those little drones and all that, that's probably not very far off of reality. What could be done?
Oh, sure. You would get audio, video, some maybe thermal analysis, but you'd be years before that. But I think it's neat where they're doing the kind of technology that's really almost accessible.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of skating on that edge. And well, the thing that I keep thinking about that part of it is like the floating helicarrier and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that seems ridiculous, right? But if what we saw happen in Captain America happened and there was the Tesseract and all this power and all these things and all the advancements, that world would have existed, very possibly. So like if we had had intervention back at that point in the 40s where it was undeniable that this technology existed and then the development, the backwards engineering and all that could happen off of it. Yeah, you know what? I think that type of drone technology and flying helicarriers and all that stuff, the car might be a little bit outrageous, but hey, you know what? It was in Back to the Future, so it could happen.
It could happen, like you say. I agree. You got that backwards engineering. You go back and where did it start? Is it alien technology? Is it superhuman? Are we going to start to find some of these things out?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I got two questions. Two things that are just like eating at me. I want to ask you about. First of all, well, it's not even a question. I just thought this was cool. When they were analyzing the object, and he said it's at least it's been in there for 1,500 years. So that means it's a 500-year-old temple. This thing's been there 1,000 years before the temple, is what they were implying, or is at least 1,000 years older than the temple.
Right.
Okay. Um, so this is the part that I thought was interesting. When they were definitely leaning towards alien technology, and Simmons, I think, says, I don't know about that. It looks like German engineering. So what's up with that? Are we going to find out that there was time travel? Is there something where are we going to find out like Red Skull is still out there?
I think what you're finding out, much like some of the things with uh, the centipede and they're I think these are like the Nazis, the Hydra, they're finding and utilizing some of this alien technology.
Right, but how is it 1,500 years old?
Well,
And
that's
how would it be German engineering that's 1,500 years old? How
well,
could
if it looks like German engineering, what it could look like is alien technology.
oh, that the
And
Germans aped, and that's why their technology looks the way it looks?
right,
Oh,
that
I'm so quick.
you are.
No, I'm not.
Actually, is quicker than I am because when I saw that, I thought that was a detonator, some sort of that was protecting a vault.
So did I. And you know what? When Ward pulled that thing out of the wall, I thought they're just taking the pin out of it.
Right. I thought, you idiot. Who the hell
Who pulls
take
that thing out? And you know what? I still say, if that thing was there for 1,500 years, like if that wasn't just lodged there, but it's been there, because that was what he implied. What's behind there? What is buried under that temple? Why is that thing there? They didn't ask that question. They were asking, what is it? But they didn't ask why.
right, they weren't there long enough because Knucklehead pulled out what
Yeah,
could have
right.
been a motion detection detonation device.
Yeah, who knew? Well, I mean, that was what Simmons was, complaining about. Like, what are you doing? But yeah, that whole thing, like, I don't think we're done with that either. I don't think we're done with what that object is and why it got pulled out of there. Although we're done with the object because they launched it at the sun at the end.
Right. However, I think it does opens up another storyline for them because we're finding each of these alien or uh, let's say time travel technologies, and as they discover these things, they're going to have some sort of thread, and it's one of the going to be one of the elements. There wasn't enough time to answer those questions.
Right, right. Yeah, what? Yeah, see, now I watched it today with my daughter, okay? And she's never seen any of this. She's 6, right? But she said to me, "What superhero is this going to lead to?" Like she was aware of it enough to know that, even though, I mean, like I said, she hasn't seen any of this. I didn't even tell her about the first episode. She knew that Shield was in the Avengers. Like we talked about that a little bit. But she said to me, if they find this, doesn't that mean that it's leading to a superhero? And I said, well, not exactly. It could just be one of the artifacts that's out there, and that's kind of what they were implying. But whatever that was, I think is going to lead to something.
It's got to. That is part of the. That's got to be part of the storyline. The question is, what you're saying is everything they do going to lead to a superhero, or are there going to be unknown phenomena
I
that
think you're
they're.
right on the second point there. I think they're going to leave a lot open because if it's just superhero of the week, it's going to get boring real fast.
It is, and you run out of material. Whereas if it's just a 084, you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost do like an X Files type thing with this team, hunting down these stories, looking for these things, and once in a while we hit gold and somebody goes flying by in a cape. You know what I mean?
Right, and that would lead to so many more storylines.
Yeah. So Tahiti came up again. It's a magical place. He says that every time.
It is. It's like an implanted memory. It's almost as if he's been hypnotized, and when they say that, he says the same phrase each time.
Well, and he said, I had the essentially said I had the Loki Pokey stick stuck through my heart, and then I went to Tahiti and got all better. It's a magical place. It's like, what? If that went through your heart, how are they fixing that?
That's a good question. The other thing is, you start now that he's using that phrase, the eyebrows start to go up
Yeah.
because they keep. How many times can you say magical place without people saying, "Okay, I'm hearing a skipping needle on the record." If you're old enough to know what that reference is.
I'm not, Jack. What do you mean?
Well, for our younger listeners, on a record, and because I know you had albums,
Jack,
but as you
I'm
were
sitting
as you
feet away from records and a record player. So
exactly 3 feet from the records and a foot and a half from the record player.
Pretty much.
But what would happen is the old record for you Yankees out there, because we know we're attracting the younger audience,
Right.
that the record would skip and would replay the phrase over and over. And that's what I'm hearing from Coulson. That's another storyline that's going to have to come out.
Yeah.
We've heard that now just way too many times. And I think they're going to have to do that within the first season. I think they're going to have to answer that question.
Well, here's what I think. I have a little bit of a hypothesis here. I think that they are going to solve it. They're going to let us know what this is within the first season. But I think that it is something that is leading towards part of the films. So the rumor is that Coulson is an important character in Avengers 2. I think we will know what happened, and then he'll be reintroduced into the movie universe for Avengers 2.
That could be. I don't think it'll lead to, like the whole robot kind of issue. I don't think if there were something superhuman kind of about him, I think it would pop up by now. But there is definitely something deep and dark in there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something. And I don't think it's going to be simple. I think it's going to be something that, and it's not going to be obvious. Like, we're speculating on stuff, but I think when they finally do the big reveal, it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this is what's really going on. Like, they're going to pull the veil back, and it's going to be like, oh, now I get what Tahiti is, and I get what they're doing with it. Yeah, it might be a false memory, but what really went down is going to be something we're not expecting at all.
Yeah, there's just way too many possibilities to even guess right now.
Yeah.
Of course, that's partly our job, but I don't think we have enough clues to kind of make a supposition.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think that's just a really intriguing story that I love that they're not telling us yet. I love that they're making us think. They're making us question that. And I think we're about done with the team building stuff. I think next week we're going to see that all like, okay, the team is gelled. Now we're going off to do this, and you're going to see some of those dynamics of who plays who in the team. But I think that they've gotten past that, and now we're going to start getting into some more meat.
Oh, absolutely. I think you really have to get past this point to start making some storylines, some action, to have the team start to do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and now we know. They know their place when they're solving a puzzle as a team. They all kind of know their place, and they have respect for each other. Coulson is definitely, firmly in his role as leader of this, and he knows how far he can push S.H.I.E.L.D., pretty much. So, I mean, that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's get into the ending, the little tag at the end. I called it last week. I didn't call that that's what was going to be this week, but I said, we're going to see Nick Fury on here. And there he was.
Did we see Nick Fury?
Dear God, Jack.
Oh my God, I don't remember.
How do you not remember? Did you watch the last bit when it was at the credits? You're not the guy that leaves as soon as the show's over. Yeah, it's over. I'm going to just go. And then everyone tells you about how they went and ate shawarma afterwards.
Oh, good Lord.
You're not that guy, are you? Like in the Avengers, you stayed to the end.
I'm usually not, but today, actually, I watched it earlier today, and I watched it online, and I did not get that part.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go back.
You have got to go back, because the way it ends is it shows him on the plane. The plane is messed up, obviously.
Right.
And Nick Fury is there. And he reads Coulson the riot act. This is why it wasn't quite gelling for you. You didn't see what happened.
I didn't see the very end.
Oh, Jack, he's standing there. He yells at Coulson. And he's like, we gave you this plane and you wrecked it, And Coulson's just like, Fitzsimmons is going to fix it, whatever. And he goes, I don't want any modification. I want it. This is a great line. He's like, I want it fixed exactly the way it was. I don't want Fitzsimmons in here messing with stuff and putting in a fish tank or anything crazy like that. Very last line, Coulson picks up his phone when Fury leaves and he goes, yeah, forget the fish tank. It was awesome. It was awesome. But Fury was in there, telling him, hey, I gave you this leniency. I'm letting you do this. We gave you this plane. First time out, you mess it up, it was really great. And I called it. I think that is what we're going to see. Now, are we going to see another, major player next week? No. But this is 2 weeks in a row. We saw Colby Smulders in the first episode, and now we've seen Nick Fury. I say we're going to go a little ways, and then we're going to get something. I mean, we could very well, when the Thor movie comes out, we could get Thor making a minor appearance. We could
That
get Iron Man. All they got to have is the suit.
right, they've already made reference to the hammer, so it would make a good transition into the next. Dang, I wish I really seen that part because it's stupid Hulu Plus. There's no, there were no
No
credits
credits or
kind
anything.
of.
Now, did you see when I talked about it earlier? But did you see when Sky got the text?
I did. I thought
That's
that
where it
was
ended
the
for you.
end, and so there wasn't. And like I say, I was doing Hulu Plus, and I'm just doing that these kind of online TV shows for the first time.
Yeah,
And to be honest, I thought that was the end. And then the little online ad with the pig and
yeah, yeah.
Geico and the convertible
Right.
pops up. So I just assumed it was the end. So when you said that, I went back to the screen and I popped it up, and I've got exactly a minute and 46 left that I
That's
have.
Nick Fury.
That's Nick Fury, and
Oh,
that's what I missed. But that makes sense because Nick Fury is, the kick the guy in the nuts. He's the director of the organization.
right.
Whether or not Coulson is doing it by the textbook, and of course we know this happens, but somebody has to come in and say, "Hey, here's the accountability." And Nick Fury is that no nonsense guy.
Well, if,
Hey,
if Coulson is
why
level
why are you
7,
jacking my plane up?
right, Coulson is level 7, Nick Fury is level 20.
Right.
There is no higher.
Right. And and we're gonna find out some probably neat stuff in between, but it I really like the fact if what you're telling me is, hey, Nick Fury is in it and he's the one that's gonna be having the reins
Right,
and boy, there's just no confidence higher than Nick Fury when
right.
you're reading the comics.
And see, I don't think we're going to see Nick Fury. I mean, getting Samuel Jackson for a TV show is not happening. They would have advertised the heck out of it if it was. But having that occasional Nick Fury pops in, I, you know what? I'm waiting for it every week now.
Oh yeah. I mean, like you say, even if you don't get it every week, it's
No,
gonna be
no,
it's gonna
but
be
I'm waiting
good
for it.
for the story.
I'm waiting for it. I'm excited for it. I mean, there's so many possibilities. And they just threw it down once again. Now, yeah, Colby Smulders, that's not like getting, Samuel Jackson. Let's face
Yeah.
it. But I thought that was a pretty cool cameo, and I thought that was really cool that they included her. I thought she did a great job. I think Maria Hill is an important character in Shield, so that was great. Getting Nick Fury, getting Samuel Jackson, that puts it at a whole different level. But that also tells you, like when I was saying, we could see like Red She-Hulk, or we could see, I was going to say Venom, but I doubt we're going to see Venom because he's part of the Spider-Man universe. But we could see some of this stuff happening.
Yeah.
And as that stuff starts happening, that's when we're going to start crossing over with the movies, the actors that are in the movies. We don't know. I mean, like, you know, Robert Downey Jr., we know what his contract says is that he's got, I think it's 2 more Avengers films, and that's all his contract says. But we don't know if there's some kind of writer in there where he has to make, a 30-second appearance on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. twice.
And as I said before, not literally, but there's got to be an Iron Man 4 in the works just because 1, 2, and 3 have done so well. 1 and 3 were just crazy good,
Yeah.
and 2 was still enjoyable.
Well, you know what? Here's what I think is going to happen. We're not going to see an Iron Man 4 in this next phase. Okay? Because we've
No,
already seen it in
you
phase 2. Phase 3, I don't think we're going to get an Iron Man 4. That will give them a chance to do Avengers 2 with Tony Stark. And then at that point, you're talking, a few years from now. At that point, now they can find the right actor to replace Robert Downey Jr., do an Iron Man 4 with a new actor. Do they need to? No, I would love to see Robert Downey Jr. play this one out. But he might not want to do that. He might be done with it.
I don't know. I think everybody's got such a good thing here right now. I'm going to disagree with you on this, and I'm going to put it on the record that they're absolutely, I think they will get past, they've got to get past the Avengers. I think you misunderstand that, like what I'm saying is it's going to be within the next year or two. No. I think it's going to be in the works in the mid future, that they're going to have
So
to
are you
get.
thinking before Avengers 3 or after Avengers 3? Because that's what I'm saying is it's after Avengers 3.
No, I agree with you. What you're saying is, it was valid. They've got to get, the real world issue is he's got a contract for these movies. They're in the plan, they're in the works, but I'm talking about the 5 year plan, and everything's got such a good thing here going. I don't see that Tony Stark and Iron Man are going to jump ship when he's got such a recognizable face.
Sure.
I don't think they're going to do the Batman thing.
And trade out the actor every few years?
Yeah, and it really didn't do that character justice. They've gone through all three with the same character, and it's just been so successful.
Yeah, 3 plus an Avengers movie. I mean, yeah. Well, with Ben Affleck signing up for Batman, from what I hear, it's a 9 movie deal.
Are you joking me?
No. Now that doesn't mean 9 Batman movies. That means you're talking at least one Superman movie, probably 3 Batman movies, and then Justice League, maybe a small part in a Wonder Woman movie. Like you'll see him popping up as that character, just like Robert Downey Jr. At the end of uh, various movies, like when they do their little tag thing, you can have Tony Stark sitting in the bar talking to Nick Fury. So he's part of that film. It's part of the deal, but he's not a main character in it. He's not a player.
And I don't want to beat the Marvel universe kind of to death, but I think that's what, because they own all these things, I think that's what they can pull Iron Man in. They can pull Thor, they can pull Captain America. I don't know that they will for this, just for a TV series,
Uh huh.
but they have that opportunity. I think one of the episodes and this podcast, you're talking about, it doesn't even have to be an appearance. It can be a screenshot of Iron Man going through, but they own the rights to these characters, and I think you're going
That's why I think
to
you're going to see the outfit. You're going to see Iron Man's suit fly through or doing something.
absolutely. I agree. I think they have all these things in their pocket, and they're going to use them.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see the Hulk, the big green guy, but I think we will see, because I keep talking about Gamma, I do think we're going to see Hulks. We're going to see Red Hulks. We're going to see other things affected by Gamma.
I
I
think you're
really
right.
think that's going to happen.
Because why else bring up the gamma?
Yeah, over and over. I mean, yeah, we know that it affected Hulk, but how is it going to affect this universe?
Yeah, that's a good question. The other thing is could they be trying to do this, trying to create new Hulks?
Yeah, I mean, if they've got that technology, how do we know that they don't have a division that's going to start experimenting with that?
Well, because one of the things is, this is out. If you listen to Ward, he says, "Look, I'm used to being an individual. I'm used to being the solution. This is so different, and I think this whole team is different in the Shield universe. Is this going to be different in the Marvel universe? Are they going to be reutilizing what they have, or are they going to be
Creating
new
new. Yeah, see,
creating
that's
new
what I
characters
wonder.
with the gamma radiation within the rules of the Marvel universe?"
Now, you remember the show Heroes, right?
Correct.
Okay. When Heroes died, it had a real hard problem when there was a writer's strike. So it had 1.5 good seasons, and then there was the writer's strike, and it just kind of threw everything off kilter. Okay. But just before that writer's strike, they had announced that they were going to do a Heroes spin-off series that every week was going to be a different story about a hero. And some of those would make it end up being characters on Heroes, and some of them would be a one shot. I think they might be doing a little bit of that here. Now, once again, I said earlier, it's not going to be Hero of the Week here, so it's not exactly that. But like you said, they could start playing around with this. They can create new characters. They can pull characters from the Marvel Universe. They can really do whatever they want with this thing. And I think that that's where we're going to start seeing it go. I mean, last week, what did we see? We saw a character that doesn't exist in Marvel. Okay. There
Right.
is a character by that same name. I did a little research on that. He was in a weird comic. I forget the name of it. But he was just like the best friend of another character. He never had superpowers. He wasn't that character at all. He just had the same name.
It kind of smacks a little of Indestructible, but within the Marvel universe, they immediately tied his character into the exploding soldiers from Captain America.
Right. Right.
So
So
there's a
I
tie
wonder
in.
if you're
He's
right.
new, but the technology is already been laid out.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, I wonder if that is where we're going. If we're going to start seeing new, oh gosh, I just can't tell. Is it going to be solely new characters, or are they going to draw from what they have? I think it's going to be a mix of both. I think they're going to pull from their stable. They're going to use this as a platform to kind of introduce us to characters that, number one, are not movie characters. They can use it to develop characters. Like I said, I would love to see them introduce the Punisher here. Give me one episode with the Punisher. Make us have to deal with that. Figure out what's going on there. He's not a superhero, but he's popped up on the radar and he's doing some stuff. He's not just some guy with a gun. You know, I think you could have that, and that would introduce him back into the cinematic Marvel universe.
That's interesting. But before we go on, this is probably about the third or fourth time you've mentioned the Punisher. What what is your hope? What are you looking from the Punisher, and how do you think he's going to fit in with this universe?
I think he fits in the way he fits into the Marvel comics. He is an anti-hero. He is different. He doesn't have superpowers. He's just a, big gun-toting guy, but he does team ups with Spider-Man and with mutants, and he's involved. I think that you introduce him into this, now you can launch him off and do a completely different kind of Marvel movie. We're not going to have aliens in it. We're not going to have superpowers. We're going to have a Punisher story. But now to the audience, it's not disconnected. That was the problem with the other Punisher things. They were disconnected. This would be completely connected to the Marvel Universe. We know that he's occupying the same space.
As and that I guess that's where I get confused. At how do you figure that that was so disconnected?
Was there any reference to anything outside of a guy that put on a t-shirt with a skull and went and shot things up?
There wasn't. They really didn't do that, and but I wasn't really quite sure in the original in the Punisher universe, was it any different?
Yeah. I mean, he's in the Marvel universe. So there are, Spider-Man makes an appearance. I'm reading Thunderbolts right now. He's one of the team members of Thunderbolts. So he would essentially be like, he could be brought into a team, like S.H.I.E.L.D. hires him to do a job. So you
Right.
know that Frank Castle is out there and that he's doing his thing, but now he's tied into this universe. I got another thing, as long as we're talking about that, something that crossed my mind when I was watching. Are we going to see any of these characters evolve into supers? Like, very easily, I think Ward could become something, or May could become something.
I don't know. I think Ward is kind of, I think what you were saying is starting to become true, although I disagreed because of the campiness. But Ward is going to be your James Bond, your focus. If he becomes a superhero, I think it takes away from his character. He's the
Okay, yeah,
badass
but
agent human.
let's go with what our conversation just was. Maybe he doesn't become a super, but does he become like a Frank Castle, where he's so good at what he does, he can have his own story outside of this team?
Uh, it's 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 quite possible. I mean, I think there's enough of these characters that really, except for the Fitzsimmons,
Yeah.
because they're a pair, and maybe as a pair they may have a storyline. But you could almost do an episode on each of these characters, a background on Melinda May,
Now, Melinda May, I
a
think,
whole techie episode. but I think he could Ward could stand alone in an episode, or if you say let's say you have a Punisher episode, whereas Ward or the team, or like I say, Ward by himself goes in as backup.
Sure. Sure.
Yes, you have the super or the
And now you've got him doing his thing, but it's not superhero.
right. You've got the superheroes, and they need some backup, somebody to cover his six.
I think
And
May could be the one that evolves into, because she's very much Black Widow.
oh, very much so. And and we know that there's some sort of backstory. And of course, here's an I don't want to get into another issue before finishing this one, but how many times did she go into combat in this mission, and I apologize for it, and of course 3 seconds later she's right back into combat. She's not going to.
How tough was she when she had the two guns? How
Oh, that was
awesome was
great.
that?
And
It's like, maybe you should have taken more guns.
and then how about when she dislocates her wrists to or her wrist
Oh,
to get out of the cuff?
and you hear crunch.
The crunch. And it's like, what was that?
Oh, that was awesome.
That
And
was
she
Linda
took that guy
May.
down. She comes up from behind and just takes him down. That was so great.
And then not till after she does that does she put it back in place.
Yeah.
And of
Well, yeah,
course,
because he would have hurt her, crack her wrist back in. She's got to do her job first, right?
right, you can't wait for all that. So then she's standing there. She does the little, she does the Lucy Lou head shake,
Yeah.
and hair flips back, and you hear crunch. It's back in.
Now, are you going to be doing that with your rib? You're going to do a little crunch thing when this is all done?
Well, don't forget, I had wrist surgery myself.
Oh,
So,
true.
yeah. So now I'm looking forward to doing the little, hey, whenever I get in handcuffs, watch this. I just dislocate my wrist, and
And then you start rocking back and forth and crying, because I know what's actually going to happen.
well, yeah, actually what'll happen is it won't actually dislocate. I'll just really hurt myself real bad and whimper softly.
You're going, like, watch this. I'm going to get us out of this situation. Why is that guy crying over there?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even laugh normally, so how am I going to do that, really?
Right. Right. Um, well, Jack, I think we pretty well talked this one out. Did you have anything else you wanted to address on this?
No, I think I'm pretty I've had enough said.
I've had enough said. Let's wrap this one up, because we could go on. I'm sure we could probably talk for another hour, but let's give this one a rest, and we'll come back next week and talk some more. Let me wrap a couple things up here. You could follow us on Facebook. It's the Nuff Said Podcast. Definitely go on there and like us, and follow us on there and share your thoughts. We've had a couple of people actively writing some things, which is pretty cool. You can follow me on Twitter at rsouthgate. And there I talk about much more than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I talk about our other podcasts. We have so many exciting new ones about to start. It's so cool. We're doing shows that we were not anticipating, and we've got new people coming aboard that are really great personalities. This is all going to be really cool. And next week, we're going to make some official announcements. But we're going to I talk all about that stuff on Twitter, too. I give little hints as to what's going on. Jack,
And
you have a Twitter.
I do. It's J1 Grosky, and I am going to respond to a couple of these. We've got about 3 posts on the Facebook, and we haven't responded to them yet, but we're gonna get on that this week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Jack has written a couple of cool things on. I don't know if did you write it on Enough Said? I know you wrote it on Input Junkie.
I did Input Junkie, but I noticed that we have some responses and some real good questions up on Facebook. Some questions there about where things could go, and I think we should give that a go.
Yeah, so we'll start responding to stuff and getting a little bit better about that. This is all, I mean, even though we've been doing it for a little while, this is all still new. We're still working the kinks out and figuring things out. So hang in there with us. But the more you write and the more active you are, the more we can feed off of that and get in there with you. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about? You can find our show on iTunes. You can find it on Stitcher. Now, iTunes, I use that when I listen at home. For Stitcher, I use that on my mobile phone and in my car. So I recommend getting it both places. And really, if you love us, I would give us 5-star ratings, and I would subscribe on both places. If you hate us, I would subscribe on both places, and I'd give us 5-star ratings. So that would help us out, or really hurt us. How's that?
If you cut off a limb, 3 will take our place.
Oh, excellent. You know what? I cut off a finger and nothing grew back. What is that?
But
I was trying to do the Matrix.
Something on you grows on a daily basis.
That's a mole, and I don't like to talk about it in public. Let's see. What else do we have? So definitely follow us. Definitely like us. Share it with your friends. We want to really build something here, and we're really working at it. You can hear Jack and I with Martha on the Input Junkie podcast, so check that one out. That one's a lot of fun. And this week we have some things that Jack doesn't know about that are going to be a lot of fun. And Martha and I just wrapped up the Under the Dome podcast, and if you didn't listen to that, jump on. We're putting on next week a really cool interview with one of the producers. And I just edited that, and it's really cool. A lot of fun to listen to. A lot of very, very insightful. I shouldn't make it sound like it's that stiff. It's a lot of fun. And really,
and don't forget, I think you said Stitcher and iTunes, and did you mention the Southgate Media Group?
Oh, no. We also have a website, Southgate Media Group. Just go there, and you can listen to all the shows there. Each show has its own page, and there's also, even just going to the homepage, you can listen to a little player for the new episodes there. So good call on that, Jack. And I so want to tell you about our new shows, but I want to save it for next week because I'm so excited. I did logos today. We've got music lined up. It's all really cool. I think that does it. Jack, do you have anything else, or is that it?
That's it for me.
All right. For the Nuff Said podcast, which is brought to you by the Southgate Media Group, and it is part of the Input Junkie Network. I know I said that backwards, but it all got out there. My name is Rubenesque Rob Southgate.
And I'm Jealous Jack Wimgrowski.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Join us next week. We can't wait for the next episode. Nuff said.
Nuff said.